which is really not good. And I'm trying to tell everyone not to use that category. And these are brothers and sisters. When a brother or sister sponsors another brother or sister, what happens due to these quotas, these limitations on these numbers, the waiting period right now is somewhere between 10 to 15 years. So if, for example, you now file for your brother, who may be anywhere in the world, it doesn't matter where he is in the world, your brother would have to wait abroad for 10 to 15 years. The period is too long, it doesn't make any sense. The cost of application is not terribly high. Everything can be done for maybe $1,000, $2,000 with all the filing fees and everything else. But the problem with this story is in the fact that basically the waiting time is so long that you maybe even forget about this after 10, 15 years. And indeed that does happen very often, because people move and then after 15 years they notify them and they forget to change the address, so they never actually even find out about this. And then they lose after 15 years their application. That's been happening too. So what I'm advising clients, when they have a brother and sister situation, choose another option. Go through the employment, go through student visas, go something else, bring them over here, to study and to work and to do something else in America, because that long waiting period really doesn't make any sense. Now, let's look at the other option, which is my favorite and which I'm trying to advocate, and I think that a lot of people from Bangladesh would actually find it very acceptable. And this is getting American work visas and green cards through investment, trade, business, and employment. Number one, for people who have businesses in Bangladesh, who have firms over there, garment factories, design, or any other, really doesn't matter, consulting firms, real estate, a lot of people involved with real estate or something like this, trading, export, import, with China, with Russia, it doesn't have to be with India, it doesn't have to be with the United States, car dealerships or something like this, anything like this, but primarily these big garment factories. And I'm really oriented towards them. You can open your offices here in the United States. You can sell your products here in the United States. You can employ American workers, and through that, there are certain types of visas and green cards that you can actually obtain. The principal one is called L1A, L as London visa. This is for managers or executive, L1A. There is one called L1B for specialized knowledge workers. So what you do, you basically file for that visa. The manager, the owner of the factory, can get American L1A visa. He automatically gets social security number, can get a driving license, basically gets everything that really they need to establish themselves here. And then later on, then they develop the business in America even more, can get a green card on that basis. The other option for people who don't have basically factories or companies in Bangladesh, or even if they have, but somehow they don't want to make that connection. Maybe they want to close everything over there. Maybe they want to sell it over there. Like a lot of people do that with the real estate. They sell everything, and then they invest money here in the United States. What happens with them, they're eligible for a type of visa which is called E-visa, E like England. There's something like E1 for export, import, and then an E2 visa is the investment visa. This is the investor's visa. Basically, someone can relatively small amount of money, and it's small in terms of investment, not small for us as people. $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, and that's what it would cost you to buy a shop or something like this. Basically here in New York or somewhere else, can actually buy and open and run a business and invest into that business and get that investor's visa. The beauty of that visa is that, and really the big benefit, that the owner gets social security number, can get a driving license, open bank account, get a credit, get really everything that he or she needs, and the wife can get unlimited, or husband, if wife does that, so it doesn't really matter, basically spouse, usually it's a wife, can get unlimited work authorization for the United States. So now what happens, you're really getting two work authorizations for the price of one. Husband, for example, is working through his shop, store, convenience store, or something like this, but wife can actually get and she gets a social security number, driving license, everything, can go work elsewhere, which is a big thing, because then you have a two-income household which can really make a lot of money and also support that business, because in the beginning, usually the business needs to be supported so that business can actually run, which is very important. So these are these two principal visas, E and L. L is good for people intra-company transfer who have companies over there. E visa is for people who, maybe they even have the company overseas, but they want to maybe close it or sell it or, give it to their partner or something like this. It's really very, very good. Now, there is another thing which I want to tell you, and some people say it's too much money, and we can all argue about it. For some people it's too much money, for the other people it's not. It really depends. And this is the possibility of getting American green card, which is a permanent right to stay and work in the United States directly. So you don't need to get a visa. You don't get any visas. You can get it if you want, but you go for a green card directly in a very short period of time of only 6 months. Can a person get a green card for him and the entire family? The only problem, and this is the so-called investor's green card. Some people call it EB-5 because that means employment-based program 5, but that really doesn't mean anything. If one invests at least $1 million and employs 10 American workers, can actually get a green card. Sometimes you will hear a story, it's about $500,000 investment, but I'm just telling you right now that doesn't work. Because there is no business in New York or any area around us that you can invest only $500,000 and employ 10 workers to have a profitable business. So I usually tell people, don't try, because you're going to lose money, you will ultimately not get your green card. But it's a $1 million investment and employ 10 workers, because then you really have a nice amount of capital. You can buy a lot of things. You can buy these fast food shops. You can buy basically landscaping companies. You can buy construction companies, gas stations. Really a lot of things, and employ a lot of workers. And it's really fantastic because a person can get a green card within 6 months. And it's a really program that some people will basically say, okay, I'm not going to bring my family, I'm not going to bring my wife and children until I get a green card. I don't want any visas, and I don't want to, be here illegal and start, basically fighting over visa issues. I really want this. So that's what the story is when it comes to investors' green card.
Okay, my question is, you talk about the investor visa and all this thing. What is the minimum someone can invest and then get a benefit out of it? Minimum invest.
Right. Now, as I just mentioned, for green card purposes, in my view, the minimum is $1 million and 10 American workers. Legally, the law says you can invest only $500,000 in certain areas and get a green card, but I'm just saying, in my view, this is not possible. I would not recommend that. I don't know any successful application. So it's really, for the green card is $1 million. However, there's really no need to go for that. And for people who have a lot of money, maybe that's a good option. But for many other smart businessmen, I would propose something else. With a relatively small amount of investment, $30,000 to $50,000. And you need to show you have some additional money in the bank and properties and houses or some other businesses in addition to the amount that you invested. One can get that E2 visa, investor's visa, for 2 years. You can keep on extending that visa. Every 2 years, you keep on extending for as long as you run the business. I even know some people from Europe who come over here and retire on these visas because, they can keep on coming in and out of the United States. They have a nice visa. They get a social security number. All they need to do, they hire a shop for a manager. Basically, manager who manages the flower shop or something like this. They just have to make sure that the business keeps on running. And, they qualify, they keep on extending the visa. So we are talking about $30,000 to $50,000 now. The more, the better. I had very, very successful applications really without any problem for $100,000 investment. It's a little bit higher one. But there are also a lot of businesses, like if you want to open a car dealership, you will need to invest $100,000 or $200,000 or $300,000. There are a lot of businesses, if you want to a little bit bigger supermarket, which would really earn a very nice profits, you really need to invest $100,000 or $200,000 anyhow. By the time you lease the supermarket, by the time you get everything painted and organized and put all the shelves and all the inventories and then buy the goods and employ the people, you're probably going to be somewhere between $100,000 to $200,000 anyhow. However, to directly answer your question, I would not go below $30,000. Okay. I think that $30,000 is the lowest threshold that I would have a tendency to submit the application to the U.S. Immigration Service. I've heard from others that some people got approved for less. I just don't want to
less than 30,000.
Yes. I heard that, but I've never seen it, so I can't, tell your viewers to go on and do that. What I'm saying, 30, 40, 50,000, and if money is not an issue, I wouldn't go with the money issue. I would go with the type of business, because remember, you will need to keep on running that business for the next couple of years, because you need to get further extensions of the E2 visa. And you get a social security number, you can open a bank account, you can get a driving license, you can go on run any business you want through your own business. So for example, you can open a store, but it doesn't mean you can only have that store. You can do other things and get paid through that store, and it's all part of the investment enterprise. And we'll tell immigration service, if you do other things, you say I also do other deliveries, I do truck deliveries, I do furniture moving, and everything goes through my store. So this is like a bit more diversified business. That is perfectly fine.
Okay, and then beside of this, you are trying to help the community to do some political activities, right? Which party you belong to?
Well, I am more prone at this point to the Republican Party than I am to Democrats, because I am, and I have to tell you, I'm very socially actually progressive. So the way I'm having problems with Democrats is on the economic side, more than anything. So I'm more like over Republican than I'm a Democrat, but I'm, on the other hand, I'm a very, very moderate Republican. I have to say that.
So
I usually call myself Bloomberg Republican or Giuliani Republican rather than Reagan Republican. So what happens here is that I disagree with the Democrats' approach to in New York City, and in a nationwide. With their approach to economic policy, I think it's completely wrong. I think that running huge budget deficits basically does not help anyone. I think that taxing people to death does not help anyone, particularly not small businesses. I think that taxes are too high. There are many things that basically they're doing wrong. And of course, I have a huge problem with the Obamacare, although I would not necessarily abolish it. I would like to modify it. Where I disagree with Republicans, but not every Republican agrees with it, I'm in favor of immigration reform, of course, there are certain things. I'm saying I'm closer to Republican philosophy when it comes to economics.
But you are very moderate.
Yes, exactly.
So if you, do you have any plan to run for any political office?
Well, yes, I'm planning, and it's being now discussed, and it is affecting where I'm opening my offices and how I'm opening them. I'm seriously considering a congressional run. At this point, maybe like a year or 2 years or 3 years, I'm gonna watch these elections really very carefully. As you probably know, and your viewers would probably know, I have an office in Jackson Heights. It's on Roosevelt Avenue.
What is the number they can call in your?
Well, the best number to call is really the main office number. It's 718 213 5700. So 718-213-5700. I wanted to say the address is 7316 Roosevelt Avenue. It's in the corner of Broadway and Roosevelt Avenue. Since I work by appointment only, it would be a good idea to call, just to make sure, because I go very often to the immigration service, particularly in the morning and during the day. So, unfortunately, I'm not there. When I fight these political asylums and applications and everything. So it's a good idea to call and schedule appointment. Or the other office, the other opportunities, maybe office in Astoria, if I decide to run from Astoria. It is all at this point being researched. However, I'm seriously thinking about it, because I think that the community needs a better representation, and I'm particularly going to emphasize economics, healthcare, education issues, a little bit foreign policy as well, and of course immigration policy.
Thank you, Mr. Marijan.
Thank you, my pleasure.
আমাদের সামনে এতক্ষণ অ্যাটর্নি মারিজান ইমিগ্রেশনের বিভিন্ন বিষয় নিয়ে আলোচনা করলেন। বাংলাদেশি কমিউনিটির মধ্যে রাজনৈতিক আশ্রয় সবচেয়ে বেশি আকর্ষণীয় বলে মনে হয় টু গেট দ্য ইমিগ্রেশন বেনিফিট। কিন্তু অ্যাটর্নি মারিজান আজকে নতুন একটি দিগন্তের উন্মোচন করলেন যে কেবল পলিটিক্যাল অ্যাসাইলাম না, এর মধ্যে এই বিনিয়োগ, তারপরে ব্যবসা বাণিজ্য ওপেন করা, ইনভেস্টর প্রোগ্রাম, H1B ভিসা, আর অনেক প্রোগ্রাম আছে যেটা তিনি সহযোগিতা করেন। তো আমার মনে হয় যে বিসাইড অফ পলিটিক্যাল অ্যাসাইলাম আমরা অন্যান্য কোন সাবজেক্টে ইমিগ্রেশন সুবিধা পেতে পারি, বিষয়টি নিয়ে আমাদের এ ধরনের অভিজ্ঞ অ্যাটর্নি যারা আছেন তাদের সাথে আলোচনা করে সিদ্ধান্ত নেওয়া উচিত। আপনাদের সবাইকে শুভেচ্ছা টাইম টেলিভিশনের পক্ষ থেকে। টাইম টেলিভিশনের সাথেই থাকুন। ধন্যবাদ। Thank you for coming here, and thank you.
My pleasure, really, my pleasure.
Thank you so much. Thank you.